You have a new piece in front of you, and you know it's going to take you some time to master it. So you're wondering, what's the better way to learn it? Should I memorize the piece, or should I keep reading my sheet music? Hi, I'm Jazer, and today I'm going to explain if you should memorize or keep reading your sheet music. Now, I have students who rely on memorizing music. I also have students who rely on reading music. Every student is very different. Every student has different skill sets that they use to learn pieces. Some of my students have really great oral awareness. They might have perfect pitch. And therefore these students tend to rely on those skills to learn music. And so perhaps they don't enjoy reading music as much. And I have also students who are really great in their literacy skills. At schools they tend to have really good English skills, so their reading comprehension, spelling is quite strong. And so these kids tend to be quite great sight readers on the piano as well. They're really able to make sense of the data they see on a page and translate that into meaningful musical information through their fingers. This video is requested by Burton from Germany. Thanks for the question, Burton. Now, the answer to your question will depend on what your piano goals are. Now, are you wanting to play this piece in a performance setting, or are you wanting to improve your sight reading? So if the answer to that question was you want to perform this piece in a physical setting, or you want to, let's say, record this piece, my recommendation is you should try to memorize the piece. So take however long you need to read through your music. Maybe it's a week, 2 or 3, maybe it's a couple of days. It really depends on what your skill level is at. And then once you kind of have a good grasp on the key signature, on the general form of the piece, start to memorize it. Start to do 1, 2, 3 lines in every practice session. See if you can chunk those information and get playing without looking at the music bit by bit. I've always thought memorizing a piece for a performance is a great idea. If you think about, let's use the example of American Idol or Britain's Got Talent or something, a talent show. Imagine if a singer held a piece of sheet music in front of himself or herself, and they were singing on this world stage with sheet music in front of them. That probably wouldn't make that great an emotional connection between them and the audience, would it? Probably not. Now, we're pianists, we're different from singers, but we kind of have a similar goal as performers. As musical performers, when we get up on stage, we're trying to create an emotional connection between ourselves and the audience. So what memorizing is good for is when you memorize a piece and you put yourself on that stage, you're more likely to get into the flow of the music. You're more likely to get into the zone. You're more likely to express and feel the music. And when you're able to do that, guess what? Your audience will feel the same way too. Just doesn't really happen when you have this piece of black and white paper in front of you and you're trying to perform. Hard to really feel it, hard to really express it. Because when you're reading music, you're kind of using a really logical process of your brain. You're trying to interpret black and white data and play music through your fingers. You're not really sort of feeling that music, going with it, feeling it. Now, if your goal is to improve your sight reading, then of course, keep reading your sheet music. Read as much as you can. In the 10-20 pieces that you're going to learn this year, really try and just push that reading even more. You know what they say, practice makes perfect. You want to get better at sight reading? Read more pieces. Get out those beginner books, get out those intermediate books. Start somewhere that is not overly difficult for you. Try and read as much as you can. Get familiar with key signatures, get familiar with chord patterns. You can check out my sight reading video. I'll link it up here so you can click on that. A good tip I have for you is whatever grade you currently are in piano, if you take away 2 or 3 grades down, let's say you are right now in grade 5, and if I take away 2 or 3 grades, that means it's grade 3 or grade 2. If you're in grade 5 and you can sight read grade 2 or 3 pieces reasonably well, you make a couple of mistakes here and there, it's all right, but you can generally keep the beat of the music going. That is pretty good, okay? If you cannot do that, if I put a great, let's say 2 piece in front of you and you're grade 5 and you just could not for the life of yourself play through the piece in some sort of reasonable fashion, then you probably need to get your sight reading chops up. Sight reading is a tricky topic. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of practice. Start from those beginner books and work your way up if you are just not a sight reader. Personally, I've always been more of a memorizer than a sight reader. When I was younger, my mum told me that I would listen to a song once or twice, and immediately I was able to sing the tune perfectly because my brain just made so much sense of it orally. What that meant though was my sight reading was not as good as I would have liked it to be throughout my childhood because I always relied on memorizing music. Good in some ways, not good in some other ways. I wish my teacher would have been able to help me more with my sight reading because as you constantly improve in your piano progress and your piano technique, the pieces you play are going to get harder. And if your sight reading is not at the level at which you can play those pieces, you're going to really take a hit to your piano progress. You're not going to increase at the level that you want to. Similarly, if you only know how to sight read music and you have no memorization techniques, chances are you're not going to be able to play those really high-end complex pieces. Really fast pieces require you to memorize pieces. There's so many notes and there's so many things going on in the pieces that it's just physically impossible to make sense of the 20 notes that you got to play at one go. You just got to be able to have some sort of skills in your brain to make sense of different chord patterns, different running notes. So if you're a big reader, also work on your memorization techniques. So the simple answer is, as a pianist, you want to be great at both of these. You want to be great both at reading music as well as memorizing music. Often students tend to rely on one or the other because every brain is different, every brain is unique. Identify which one you're good at and then start to work on that other area so you grow and develop as a very balanced pianist. Do you prefer to memorize your music or do you prefer to read sheet music? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you there. My name is Jazer. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial.